planning and design that you all have put forward, some of them are creditable. That as we look at what is required in order to deliver this project, as you've done the site investigations, a number of detailed engineering components can be credited because we need that information for a future project. Not all of them, but some of them, and we've been in an effort of accounting for all of those. The legislation allows for up to $3 million of credit, and that credit would be part of that 25% match, and which is a very good thing, as you can imagine. If you would much rather be credited for dollars that have already been spent as opposed to having to come up with new cash for that 25% match. So we are working hard to do the auditing on that possible credit. So let's go to the next slide. The phases of this project, what initiated, jump-started our involvement here was the signing of a project cooperation agreement, which we signed in March of 2006. The next phase is what we call the verification phase. It is essentially looking at what I will kind of simplify as 3 questions with regard to desalinization. The first question we want to be able to determine is sufficient flow possible at this site and with this technology? Is sufficient flow possible? The second question is, can we ensure there are no environmental impacts, or can we account for them? So we are looking, and we'll be looking very closely at what does this type of technology do to the environment. And the third question is, can we get adequate water quality from this sort of process? We don't want to be bringing in marine life. We don't want sediments and everything else that would potentially negatively impact on the process. So we want to ensure before we go forward into a detailed design that we can answer those questions. Can we get the water quantity? Can we get the water quality? And is it possible to do this without significant impacts on the environment? And if we, and so our geotechnical evaluation is designed to answer those questions. We need the confidence that that will provide to be able to move into the next step. The next step being the details of design, the details of the environmental review that examines alternatives and ensures that we've accounted for any and all impacts on the environment. Those would be a contracted effort, and we're anxious to get to that phase. But very clearly, we need to do the verification first. Before we start obligating your money as taxpayers and residents, we need to do that verification. And then finally, we would go to construction. Next slide. You're no doubt familiar with the site. This is, I guess, a different site that is now being considered, and I think, I'm sorry, was the previous site, or that's the Schemel Park is what we're calling this, and I think it's clear that the site selection is a result of some of the learning that has gone and been underway for several years, looking at where would be the best place to position this. And so the geotechnical investigation will be looking at somewhere between 7 and 11 test wells, and then looking at how can water be pulled subsurface and without environmental impacts. And I think I think these are exciting questions. I know you all are thinking about this. Clearly, there's a need, and clearly, you know, I would tell you that clearly there's a need. Clearly, technology can do this. This is not the first place that desalinization has ever been used or tried. Certainly, if we got any Navy men or women here, they'd tell you, you know, they've been drinking desalinization processed water, you know, their whole time when they were in the fleet. So it is possible. What we need to be able to determine is it feasible? Given the constraints, given the environment, given the amount of money that we can offer for this project, is it feasible? And so that is the phase that we're looking at in this particular project. Next, backup one. Here's the funding. You know, I've only been here in Los Angeles for about 2.5 years. It seems like we've been talking about it seems like there's a lot more money being applied to this project than there really has. But I'll tell you the rest of the story as you look at this slide. Through 2008, we have been allocated $887,000. And that those funds were used principally to get out some early contracts and do the necessary project management and set the conditions for the next phase, which is, and I'm going to ask Darrell, he's going to kind of do a little more detailed analysis on the funding for those that are interested. But the good news was in 2009 we received $951,000 in stimulus funding, American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, in order to fund the environmental and geotechnical analysis for that verification phase. We've also been allocated $1.5 million to complete the design. So we have the money. This is very good news. If you know, the history of this project is a history of 100,000, a couple 100,000. We now have received through ARRA about $2.5 million to move this project forward. This is very, very good news, and I can tell you we need to take advantage of this. There is a, I don't want to belabor the point, but the President's intent for this money was to stimulate the economy, was to create jobs. So the $2.5 million that we have will be contracted out. It will not be used to pay Corps of Engineers salaries. It will all be contracted out through a architectural engineering firm to do the analysis, to do the design. And it is a competitive environment. It was competitive to get the money, and it is competitive to spend it. And the President's expectation is we're not sitting on it. We are putting this into the economy. I'm anxious to meet his intent. And so there is, in my organization, I hope, right, a sense of urgency that is consistent with our President's intent for how this money will be used. And so the good news is we have it, and now the pressure's on to do right by that allocation. The remaining authorization that we show for 2011 is what would take us up to the authorized amount for the project. And so I couldn't ask for any more than that. When I meet with Ms. Capps this spring, Greg, I know, is here, Lois's representative locally. And I don't ask for money, but I will tell her, this is the fine line we walk, Greg, that I won't ask for money, but I will say, if you were to give me money, the amount that I could use this next fiscal year would be that. That would be our capability up to our authorized amount. Now, I would say this. Our current estimates for the project are more than this amount. So there is a requirement, and I know locally they're working it, I know Greg's working it, to look at a new Water Resource Development Act, a WRDA extension, so that we have an authorization for more funds to complete this project. But right now, that's how our books look. And again, we're sitting on about $2.5 million to get out there and do something with.